I've lived my whole life without seeing colors. I used to think I was born colorblind. Turns out, I was raised that way. People always think, colorblind means you can't tell red from green. For me, it was more than that. For as long as I could remember, my world was just shades of gray. My walls were gray, my clothes were gray, even the food I ate, gray. When I was little, I'd ask my mom why the world looked so dull, and she'd smile in that soft, strange way of hers and say, "Sweetheart, color is dangerous. It makes people greedy." At 5, that sounded normal. At 15, it sounded insane. But I didn't argue. You don't argue with my mother. Her rules were law. No colored books, no TV, no magazines, no internet. We lived outside a small town, no visitors, no phones. My dad? He wasn't around. She said he left because of the colors. I never knew what that meant. One day in middle school, my art teacher, Mrs. Whitman, gave us a project: paint what happiness looks like. I didn't know what that meant. She handed me a set of paints. Bright, shiny, new. I remember staring at them, confused. They didn't look bright to me, they just looked wrong. So I painted a gray sun over a gray sky. When she saw it, her smile fell. She asked, "Is this a joke?" I shook my head. Later that day, my mom got called in. I don't know what was said in that meeting, but I remember the next week, the teacher didn't come back. She'd moved away. That's when I stopped asking questions. By the time I turned 18, I'd never seen a movie, never used the internet, never even seen a traffic light. When I finally moved out, to college, I thought everything would change. But something strange happened. I still couldn't see colors. My roommate, Taylor, showed me her phone wallpaper, a bright pink sunset. I told her it looked gray. She laughed. Then she stopped laughing. She said, "Wait, seriously?" She took me to an optometrist. Then a neurologist. Then another one. They ran every test possible. Everything came back normal. No brain damage. No color blindness. Nothing. One of the doctors finally said, "If your eyes and brain are fine, something's blocking your perception." That line stuck with me. Blocking my perception. A few months later, my mom called. She sounded sick, weaker than I'd ever heard her. She said she wanted to see me one last time. So I drove home. When I got there, the house looked the same: gray walls, gray curtains, the faint smell of bleach. She was lying in bed, pale and fragile. On her nightstand was a wooden box. She said, "Before I die, I need you to know the truth. Don't hate me when you find out." Then she handed me the box. Inside was a single key and a folded photo. The photo was of me, maybe 4 years old, sitting in a field of flowers. Only the flowers were in color. Bright, vivid, impossible color. I didn't understand. She whispered, "Your eyes were never broken, Emily. I made them that way." And then she closed her eyes, and she was gone. The key opened a door I'd never seen before, hidden behind the hallway wallpaper. It led down to the basement. A place she'd told me was unsafe my whole life. Dust everywhere, old lights, and at the center, a locked steel cabinet. The key fit perfectly. Inside were medical files, dozens of them, each labeled with my name. Brain scans, medication logs. Some dated back to when I was 2 years old. Most were from a clinic I didn't recognize, the Alton Perception Institute. At the bottom of the cabinet was a single VHS tape labeled Experiment 13, E. Larson. I found an old player and hit play. Grainy footage appeared. A room, a toddler, me, strapped into a chair with electrodes on my temples. In the background, my mother. Calm, focused. Next to her, a man in a lab coat I'd never seen before. The man said, "Subject 13's reaction to chromatic stimuli remains unstable. Should we continue?" My mom's voice answered, "She's not ready to see it. Color is temptation. It killed my husband. It won't take her too." Then, a flash of light. The toddler flinched, screamed, and the screen cut to static. It took months to piece everything together. The Alton Institute was a private neuroscience project in the 90s. They were experimenting on how visual stimuli could trigger emotional addiction, how certain colors could create physiological cravings. Apparently, my father was one of their test subjects. He died after a mental breakdown caused by something called chromatic overload. The experiments were shut down. But my mother, she continued them. On me. She used a mix of behavioral conditioning, hypnosis, and some kind of post-hypnotic aversion therapy to make my brain reject color information. She literally trained me not to see color. Every time my brain detected it, it would filter it out like trauma. It took another year of therapy to undo it. Slowly, fragments started bleeding through, faint red lights, flashes of blue. At first it hurt, like seeing sunlight after years underground. But one day, it happened. I woke up and saw my bedsheets, they were pale green. And I cried, not because of how beautiful it was, but because of how much my mother stole from me. 2 months later, I got a letter in the mail, from the Alton Institute, which was supposedly dissolved. Inside was a single line, typed on old paper: "We never authorized a subject 13. And attached was a photograph. It was of my mother, younger, in a lab coat. Standing beside the same man from the VHS. And in her arms, not me. Another little girl. Same age, same dress, different eyes. The back of the photo said, E. Larson, Prototype 1. Deceased, 1998. That's when it hit me. I wasn't her daughter. I was the replacement. I sold the house after that. Burned most of the files. But I kept one thing, the photo of me in that field. I framed it, and every morning, when I wake up, I look at it and remind myself, she took the world's color from me, but she couldn't take mine. Then I go outside, feel the sun hit my face, and I see blue, red, green, everything. And sometimes, when the light hits just right, I swear I see her silhouette in the reflection, still standing in gray. Some people lose color because of science. I lost mine because of love twisted into control. But when the truth finally surfaced, I realized, color was never dangerous. The only dangerous thing was believing someone else's version of the world.